Hello, my name is Isabel Rosa, and today I'm presenting the design for Early Bird. This is Earl Grey. Earl is a beautiful gray parakeet who loves food and baths. His favorite activity is hanging out with his best friend, the bird in the mirror. My favorite activity is hanging out with Earl. But here's the problem. Earl lives in Illinois and I live in Massachusetts. While I'm away at college, I don't get to see Earl. The feeling of wishing you had your pet with you is a common one, and it brings me to the motivation for my project. Besides missing a family pet, there are tons of other reasons why someone might wish they had an animal friend. Maybe you grew up with dogs, but now you live in a building that forbids pets. Maybe you've wanted a cat for a while, but you're allergic. Maybe you're experiencing deep feelings of loneliness or depression, and you know a pet would be good for you, but you don't have the time or energy to take good care of it. For all these reasons and more, I propose Early Bird, the virtual pet. Pets, even virtual, provide countless benefits. 36% of American adults report feelings of serious loneliness. Virtual pets can help alleviate those feelings by providing companionship. They can also create feelings of love, especially in children. They give their owner something to nurture, which induces all sorts of positive habits. And finally, virtual pets cause laughter and joy. They provide a welcome distraction, especially for those struggling with feelings of depression. So, how will Early Bird, my virtual pet, work? Let's walk through an example. You position yourself in front of a screen where you see a bird and some toys. The bird might be flying around or playing with something. You call the bird's name, he turns to look at you and moves closer. You offer him food by raising a hand with a fist, and you might even ask if he wants food while you make the gesture. He hops towards your fist. Maybe he chirps if you're taking too long. You open your fist, dropping the imaginary food in your hand into the virtual scene. The bird hops towards the food and begins to eat. You tell Earl how cute he is. He flaps his wings and chirps in excitement. You hold out your hand and ask him to step up. He flies over and lands on your finger. Now that he's perched on your hand, he goes wherever you go. After a little bit, you drop your arm. Earl flies back to his toys, no longer attached to the movements of your hand. Maybe you need your hands for some other task, but you still want to keep Earl close by, so you point at your head and ask Earl to perch there. He flies and lands on your head. Again, as you move, Earl moves with you. You start to tell him about your day. In your silences, he talks back. You remember something that made you angry, and suddenly your volume increases. This is scary to Earl, and it causes him to fly away. You apologize and ask him to come back. He returns to his spot on your head, and you continue to move around with Earl and converse with him. Finally, you say goodbye. He flies back to his toys, leaving you free to walk away without him following you. As you leave, Earl resumes his state from the beginning, flying around or playing with toys. He might even chirp at his friend in the mirror or ring a bell as you head out and continue on with your day. So, how do I plan to make this happen? I have 3 primary goals to achieve my desired effect. The first is to create a natural feel. The system isn't designed to replace a pet, but I want it to create a similar effect in terms of companionship, joy, and love, so the interactions can't feel robotic. The second goal is to prevent frustration. I want the system to make people happy, so it needs to be very intuitive. Similarly, mistakes or unexpected behavior should be fast and easy for the user to correct. Finally, the system needs to be highly interactive. In order to make sure the user feels like their virtual pet is a true companion, there must be plenty of genuine interactions. To achieve these goals, I'll have 2 forms of input, a Leap and a laptop mic. This hardware will give me the input data I need in terms of hand gesture and sound data. Later, I might try to incorporate head or eye movement as a form of input through a laptop webcam, but for now, it's just these 2. I will then use 3 separate software packages to process the input. The Leap SDK and the Gesture Recognition Toolkit will be used to turn hand gesture data into labeled gestures. The Speech Recognition Toolkit will turn audio data into a series of words. Since the inputs are sound and gesture, I want the outputs to be sound and visual feedback through the laptop speaker and screen to provide a symmetric multimodal interaction for the user. Here's what my system looks like end to end. The 2 forms of input are on the left. Each input passes through a channel of various software packages before reaching my custom processing, which will convert the input into output. To make sure I'm on track, I've laid out 4 different versions of my system. The first step will be to create rudimentary interactions. The screen will display a bird that will move and make noise upon sensing input. Next, I'll implement the perching feature, allowing the bird to land on the user's body. I also plan to add different ways to tell the bird to leave. For the next stage, I'll create the ability to converse with the bird. And I'll also let the bird learn when to be quiet. And for the last stage, I'll add extra features such as having the bird react to volume or head and eye movement. I might also add different ways for the user and the bird to interact with toys. So far, I've been playing around with the LEAP and speech recognition packages to see what all they can do and looking into easy ways to display simple graphics. I've also been working on formalizing my plans for evaluation, which brings me to the next section of this presentation. How do I plan to evaluate whether my system is working? I propose 2 different approaches that can be used together to get a robust sense of how my system works. For the gesture and speech recognition submodules, I plan to use statistics to analyze how often a given gesture or type of speech creates the desired result. For example, how often does the step up gesture lead to the bird stepping up? How often does the bird realize that I'm conversing with it and react appropriately? That quantitative method of analysis works great for specific components of my system, but in order to evaluate the whole system, I'll need a more qualitative approach. To do so, I plan to survey a group of test users. 2 example survey questions are below. I haven't fully formalized what other questions to ask, so suggestions are appreciated. I couldn't end the presentation without one more picture of Earl, so here he is. Thank you to Earl for the inspiration, to my mom for the glamour shots of Earl, and to you for watching. Bye.